Know what it's like when you think of something and you just have to order it right away.
I don't want to forget.
And you'll forget.
Is this you?
That is me.
On Amazon? Are you standing up right now? Or are you sitting?
I'm like half.
You're what's standing? You're shitting. And on that note, like there's that Ashton guy now with that morning routine where he dips his head in the water and does that. Have you seen that?
No.
How have you not seen that? Saratoga bottled water. It comes in a glass bottle. It's the bougiest water you can buy. I ordered some.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a little version of my own thing in a future episode. If someone went to your social media right now and they saw all of your pictures, you come across as being very confident. So what do people not see?
I was going in for ultrasounds 2 times a week. She's like, well, I'm really sorry, but I can't find baby A's heartbeat.
Not to be crude, but you said there's 4 days between these appointments. So you were potentially walking around with a dead baby inside you for 4 days.
Yeah.
Welcome to Barbells and Bourbon, Strength in Stories. I am your big, bald, bearded, barbell lifting, bourbon drinking son of a bitch, Shaun. And joining me today is Aliya Antes.
Hi.
I put a little spark on that. Antes. Welcome to our home, Aliya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very, oh wait, sorry. I have to make up. I've been meaning to make an Amazon purchase here. Hold on.
All right,
I don't want to
fine.
forget.
Don't worry about it.
I ran out of hand sanitizer. And, you know,
Yeah.
better safe than sorry.
Hey, I know what it's like when you think of something and you just have to
Yeah,
order it right away.
I don't want to forget.
because Then you'll forget.
Is this you?
That is me.
On Amazon?
That is me.
Advertising hand sanitizer? I had no idea. Maybe. So how did you get on Amazon in a hand sanitizer advertisement, Aliya?
So that was through my agency, the Talent Group. I've been with them for almost 2 years now, and that was last January during Purell had a new bottle that they were advertising, and they picked me to model it.
How long did that shoot take?
That shoot took, I would say, about 5 or 6 hours.
For that, there was 2 shots in there.
I know, it's crazy.
One of your hands.
It's crazy.
And one of you just like holding it.
Yeah, I think there's 2 more shots. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's like a full length one where it's like they changed the background to like pretend like I was just walking in the park, something like that. Like, you know, on the go with my purse. But yeah, so those ones were like the quick shots though. The detailed hand shots take so long. It's insane. Like the all the technical stuff that goes into it that you wouldn't even expect.
To get that perfect shot of
Yes.
your hand and the hand
And
sanitizer coming out.
The stream coming out. You know, like the photographer would say 1, 2, 3, and I would push it, and then it would like spray across
Sideways.
the room. Yeah, sideways. And then the guy would have to come over and clean the bottle off and then hand it back to me. And then I had to get I would get the stream right, but then my hands wouldn't be in the right angle. Like my finger wouldn't be like tucked in the right way. So I'd have to do it again.
The things that you don't think about
I
when
know,
you're seeing
I
a
know.
picture like that. Holy cow. Well, obviously you weren't born doing Amazon hand sanitizer advertisements, Aliya. So, you know, the whole point of the show is to kind of have you build out your story. I want to know about you. And then I also want the viewer to learn something from you, be inspired by you. You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
We're so quick to judge by appearance. I've dealt with it. I'm sure you've dealt with it.
Yeah.
You don't know what someone's going through. So
Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
someone who watches this the next time they see you walking through Target, they're going to be like, holy shit, I didn't know that you XYZ.
Yeah,
So-
for sure. I've actually had, it's funny when you said that, like that people just judge you based on like your appearances. Even though we all say that we don't want to judge people by their appearance, it's just natural that we automatically do. And I've had a bunch of people that I've met that say like, you know, that have known me from Instagram, that meet me in person, and they were like, "You're so much nicer in person.
You're not a bitch
I
like
know.
you look. Like,
They were like, I don't know, just like, you know, some people that like, you know, do all that stuff and post photos themselves, they just like they seem very shallow, and they don't, they seem like a bitch, and
Yeah,
like,
there's a
I
little.
promise. But like, I really want people. I really want people that follow me to know that I'm a real person. Like, to me, that is very important. So that's why I'll like, I'll post things on my story, like just with me, like at home with the t-shirt and like no makeup on, or like with my kids or whatever random stuff from like me and my scrubs at work, because I want them to know that I'm not just like this glammed up like person all the time. Most of the time I'm not. Most of the time
As you sit here glammed up.
I know.
But I mean, yeah, modeling is your job. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
And you're essentially acting for the camera, putting yourself in these positions with expressions for that particular brand or shot or whatever it may be. So
exactly.
yeah. But yeah, so we're going to build your story out. Do you have any message for the viewer? I know we already talked about judgment and how easy it is to judge, but do you have anything you really want to drive home before we get into your life story?
The main reason I started my Instagram page and started modeling is because I want parents, and mostly parents, I mean, just anybody, really, but I want them to realize that you don't have to be defined as one person. I went through a really bad phase where I just like was defined as one thing, and I lost who I was as a person. And I think it's really important to remember, especially after you have kids, that you can also be your own person, and you are not just a parent. You are not just whatever your job is. You are your own person too, with your own aspirations and dreams. And it's okay to want to continue that.
I love that. And I mean, I actually already had a guest on here, not that, it means anything, but she had a really hard time being a mom.
Yeah.
She felt like her identity was to be a mother, and that is all.
Exactly. And that's how I felt too. And that's actually kind of why I started modeling, because it's something I've always wanted to do. I never really had the motivation to do it. I actually did in my early 20s. I think I was like 21. I did actually apply for a agency downtown called Doherty, and I got denied. So I think they had a height requirement of 5'6" at the time, and I don't know if they still have that or not. But I'm not that height, so which I feel like modeling has changed a lot in the last 10 years. So I feel like I kind of got into it when I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but standards were so different back then. And so I was like, okay, well, whatever. I guess I'm not meant to do that. Fast forward 15 years, here I am.
You are doing it. And we're going to talk about modeling, I don't want to say in detail, but there's a lot I want to know about it. You see the nice picture, but I'm sure there's so much, we already know how much time goes into it, but mentally, I'm sure it's kind of hard on you. And I don't want you to spoil alert yet, but I want to talk about all that. Yeah. But first, Aliya, where are you from originally?
So, I was born in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Some people say Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always just kind of said Bangladesh. That's what my parents always said. So
that way sounds better. I like that. Bangladesh. Yeah. So yeah, born in Bangladesh.
So, yeah, born in Bangladesh. And we lived there for 4 years, and then we kind of moved around.
Where's around?
Moved around. So my parents were American International School teachers. My mom was the head librarian, and my dad was a middle school history teacher. And they taught in overseas schools for kids that their parents, were expats, or their parents worked for an embassy, like any type of embassy all over the world. They have kids, but you don't want to go to like the local schools, because if you don't speak Hindi, you're not going to go to like a local Indian school,
right.
Like a public school. So they have American schools in all of the big cities, and my parents got into teaching overseas. So we traveled around. I lived in 5 different places growing up.
Where, I want to know what these places are.
Okay. So we lived 4 years in Bangladesh, and then we moved to Malaysia. And then my brother was born there. My mom and dad adopted my sister and I when we were little. I was a baby and she was a toddler, because my mom couldn't get pregnant. And then 4 years later, she got pregnant with my brother. So
So he was born in Malaysia.
In Malaysia,
You were adopted in Bangladesh.
Yes.
Got it.
So we lived in Malaysia for 4 years. And then after that, we moved to India. and then we lived in India for 3 years, and then we moved to Morocco and lived in Morocco for 6 years, and then we moved to Guangzhou, China, and that's where I graduated from high school.
What the heck? And this is all because of your parents' job.
Yeah,
All
they
the
taught
bouncing
at all
around.
the American schools. That's just part of the culture. Is people generally stay 2 to 4 years, and then they move to a different country, to a different school.
Are they teaching English or American history? Like, what were they teaching in these schools?
History, like well, yeah, just history. Like you would hear, like social studies, middle school history. It's all based on an American curriculum.
Okay.
So yeah, so they're like, for all intents and purposes, it's an American curriculum based school. So everything's in English. It's all like compatible with like credits here. They also, some of the schools had IB, like AP and IB programs in them too, if you wanted to take like AP classes or things like that. So yeah, it was just like, most of all this actually, all of them usually are K through 12. So they're pretty small. Most of the schools I went to are pretty small. Some of the bigger schools, like Beijing is a really big school. Some of the bigger Asian cities have big schools that are like 1,500 students. But the biggest school I was at was in Guangzhou, and there was maybe like 800 students, like K through 12.
Okay.
So pretty small classes. Like I graduated, I think, with 42 people in my class.
Oh, geez, that's really small.
Yeah, compared to here,
Sure.
it's pretty small. So it's a pretty tight knit community. It's over when you're an expat overseas, you kind of just all click, and the people that, like my parents' friends, for example, were all the other teachers that taught there at the school, and they kind of became our family because you're there 10 months. Generally, all of the expat teachers that were there, we spent 10 months overseas for the school year, and then we spent 2 months wherever our home is. So a lot of people were from the United States, some people were from Europe, a couple of our friends were from Canada. So then they would spend the summers wherever they grew up or were. So we came back to Pittsburgh every summer
Okay.
growing up. So it's not like I never like saw it here or
Sure.
anything like that.
So you've been exposed to different cultures from birth, essentially.
Yes, I
What?
have.
What's your so what's the favorite country you've been at or lived in?
So that's a very common question. I get a lot of people ask me that question, and I can't really answer it because your experience you have at different stages of your life are going to be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to compare what my experience would be like as a 10-year-old somewhere versus a 10-year-old in a different country.
So a teenager in China could be different than a teenager in Morocco.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So like it's hard to pinpoint my favorite place that I've lived in. I feel like they all were great in their own ways,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, let me rephrase then. So what's the favorite culture that you've been exposed to? Because you've been you've been in America for more than half your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does the American culture different from the others that you've been around?
I would have to say I probably liked the Moroccan culture the most.
Why is that?
Everyone is just, they're so kind. Like, everyone is so kind there. And a lot of people don't speak English there. They speak the two national languages in Morocco are French and Arabic. And so all of my friends who were Moroccans that went to the American school, they all spoke they automatically just spoke three languages. They all spoke French, Arabic, and English. And when I first moved there, it was a little bit shocking because they all would just be talking, and then they would speak like Arabic, French, and English in one sentence. Like they would just
Mix
words,
it all together.
Mix it all together. Yeah, crazy. But everyone there is just, I don't know. Everyone is so inviting. Like no one is like, give me, like, I need personal space. I need, because so you probably have seen like in the movies where like you go to France and people do like the two cheek kiss thing, like when they greet each other, when they meet somebody. That's how it is in Morocco. So Morocco was colonized by France back in the day. That's why French is one of their national languages. And so when you meet somebody, even if it's their first time, they automatically come in to do like the two cheek kiss thing. And
No.
it's, yeah,
It's like, get all
exactly.
defensive,
Everyone
yeah.
here would be like, get away from me. Like
Yeah.
getting out their gun, like, you know.
And you're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong.
So it's just, I don't know. It's a lot friendlier, I guess I could say.
Does that kind of put a bad taste in your mouth with the American culture, being that you've seen like how kind other cultures can be?
It does, but you know, I also know that not everybody is like that here either.
Correct.
You know, so I feel like everywhere you go, you're gonna have the people who are like that and the people who are also very inviting. So
That's true.
yeah.
So after high school, so you graduate from high school in China. What happens after high school?
So after high school, I went to respiratory school in Johnstown, PA at UPJ.
So you get American as you get, Johnstown, PA.
You know, it's so funny because when I was at UPJ, like, you know, meeting new people and stuff, and they would always like ask where I went to high school because, you know, it's in that, like, when you go to college your first year, everyone's like, where'd you go to high school? Where? And I would tell them, you know, oh, you know, in China, and they were like, what?
Say what?
What? Really?
Thinking you're lying. Show off.
Yeah. So it was a change for sure. But they had the respiratory program that I wanted to do, and my cousin went to UPJ, and she loved it. She said it was a great campus, and I wanted something that was going to be close enough to the family in Pittsburgh because, you know, I was excited about the prospect of seeing my family more regularly because usually I only saw them in the summers. I didn't get to go home on the weekends or like for holidays and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool, like being closer, you know, to family. So, yeah.
So what made you get into respiratory therapy? You heard it paid well? That was I didn't say that to be insulted. The last guest I had got into dental hygiene because she heard that it paid well and it only took 2 years of school. So
kind of. So back then, I mean, I would say for back then, for 2 years of school, it was a decent living, you know. I really disliked, so I didn't always dislike school, but in high school when I lived in China, I was very stressed out in high school, and it kind of made me hate it. So I didn't want the idea of going to school for another 4 years was just kind of daunting to me. Like I just did not want to do it.
what do you think the source of the stress was?
I think it was just the pressure of trying to get into college and everyone taking tests and comparing their scores. And, you know, a lot of my friends in China were Canadian Chinese or American Chinese. And this is very stereotypical to say, but that like strict Asian culture is very real. And everyone there was like a student. Like everyone there was like, if they got a B, their parents would be mad.
Yeah.
So I just felt very pressured to perform well in school, which was like my own doing. It had nothing to do with my parents. Like my parents were proud of me no matter what.
Sure.
And if I got B's, then they would be proud of me. If I got like 1C, they'd be like, okay, maybe you need to study harder, you know, but it wasn't like the end of the world.
So it was just an internal competition for you to do well and be on everybody else's level.
Yes, and everybody was taking AP classes and I wasn't. And so I compared myself a lot to them. And I was a good student, but I had to really work hard to be a good student. I wasn't just one of those naturally gifted ones that don't have to work hard. And a lot of them were like that. So it just, I don't know. It's just the stress of it just made me really not like school.
You ever get picked on because you were just a little bit different?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Because I wasn't like really different in that way. Because again, like I had friends from all over the world there. Like, you know, wasn't just Asian kids there. So not, I mean, and I was like, I guess you could say like I was like popular, you know, because I was a teacher kid. Like, but I mean, sometimes I got picked on because I was a teacher kid.
Yeah.
You know, well, your dad, you got an A because your dad's a teacher, you know, that kind of thing. But, and I'd be like, no, I actually studied really hard.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. But like I did all the sports and all of that, and so it wasn't that. It was just my internal struggle with wanting to be perfect, and I couldn't.
Do you still deal with that today?
Not really. I've accepted that it's okay not to be perfect.
That's good, because none of us are.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you speak any fluent languages other than English?
Sadly, no.
Damn it. I was gonna have you say Barbells and Bourbon in like 8 different languages for me.
I know. No, I spoke French I would say the closest I got to a fluent language was French because of I
Morocco,
took French. Yeah, I took French for 6 years from like 5th grade to 10th grade. And we went to France a couple times and when we traveled for breaks and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So you come back to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, UPJ. I'm a Penn State grad, so don't hate. Don't hate.
Well, both my parents went to Penn State.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
I like you again. What did you do after? Did you get a job right away?
I did.
Yeah.
I got a job at Presby. And I interviewed a couple months before I graduated, accepted a job there, started in 2008.
So let's do the math. Carry the 1. What is that? 10, 20, 17
going
years?
on 17 years. Yeah.
Damn.
I know. Crazy.
Do you enjoy it? I mean, you must somewhat enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I do. There's some days that of course I hate it, just like any other job. But I think in general I enjoy it. I enjoy helping people. And, that's kind of what made me want to get into. I always liked medical stuff. I was always really fascinated with biology, things like that. But I knew that I wouldn't have the stamina to go to med school. So that's also one of the reasons why I saw that there was the respiratory program. And when I was, a senior in high school, looking at different colleges and looking at their websites and what majors they offered. And I saw the respiratory care program, and I saw it was a 2-year associate, but you could also continue to do 4 years if you wanted to. I didn't do that though. And then the pay was decent.
Yeah.
So
common answers to get into a profession.
Yes.
Now, so what does a respiratory therapist do in your day-to-day?
So you give a lot of breathing treatments, patients that have asthma or COPD or chronic lung problems. I've probably heard of albuterol, but that's like the magic drug. Everybody gets albuterol, cures everything.
Does it though?
No, no. But they seem to think that it does.
Yeah.
So we get breathing treatments, and then in the ICUs, we manage the ventilators, the breathing machines that people are on. We manage all of that. If patients need to go somewhere while they're intubated and have a breathing tube in, then we have to essentially breathe for them and take them to the procedure. We do a lot of that. And then whenever they're ready to get the breathing tube out, we'll wake them up and pull it out whenever they're ready, do the breathing trials on the ventilator and make sure they can breathe okay. And and then we just do a bunch of different breathing exercises, stuff like that.
Just keeping people alive. Not a big deal, right?
I guess. Part of the team.
Guess, yeah.
Part of the whole team.
So you see some pretty sick patients, right?
Yeah. See a lot.
How hard was that to get used to?
It was really shocking at first. I've never been squeamish about things. I always loved doing biology lab in high school where you do the frog dissection and all of it.
Sicko. Dexter.
I always liked that, but so it didn't really bother me seeing blood and stuff like that. But the first time I saw intense things, it definitely was wow, is that real?
Yeah. Do you get used? I mean, obviously you get used to it, right?
You do. You get used to it, but there's always a part of you that it's still shocking. No matter what, it's always wow, I've seen that 100 times, but that's still unreal that you're seeing that.
That's probably a good thing though, because it makes you sort of stay in the zone and appreciate the situation If you were so just complacent and just like nonchalant about it,
Yeah.
you might not want to maybe try as hard. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you have to have a certain amount of like immunity to it, I guess, you know.
Sure.
But I don't know. I think that everybody that works in healthcare has some type of PTSD from the things that we see, because like we see things that people, like most people, never see.
Or seeing a movie
You know,
and don't even know if it's real.
It's literally, exactly. And like, I mean, I remember the first time I saw like an open leg fracture. It was like, it was insane. I was like, oh my God, that is crazy. I mean, I remember like the person's foot was laying up against the side of their leg, and their bone, like this far of their bone, was sticking out at the bottom. And it was just covered with dirt, and they were washing it off and stuff in the trauma bay. You know, it's wild. I've seen somebody fall down the stairs and they had a piece of like a banister, like literally a full banister shoved like in their chest. It was like going out. It was like when you see them in like Grey's Anatomy where they're like cutting somebody out of something. Yeah, that's what it was. It was like literally sticking out from like here, went through their chest, out like their armpit, and was like sticking out like this.
Oh my God.
It was crazy.
And they lived?
Yeah, it didn't hit. She was lucky.
No
It didn't
major
hit
organs?
it didn't hit anything. It just was through the superficial. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, we see a lot of gunshot wounds too. So those are probably the hardest to see. We see a lot of gunshot wounds. I've seen the first time I saw a gunshot wound to the head, where there was like brain matter coming out of the bullet holes. It was intense for sure.
Well, if you can see my faces, that's not the field that I would be in. That stuff makes me extremely squeamish. Yeah. When I was young, I could handle that. I could see all the blood in the guts. But as I get older, anything like that just makes me cringe.
Yeah, it's wild for sure. It makes you really cherish your life.
I was going to say, do you appreciate life a little bit more?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. And that's also probably why I'm like a lot. I'm not strict with my kids, but we're always like very safe. Like when they go on their bikes and stuff, have to have their helmet, have to have all their pads on, you know, because
Well, you've seen what happens when you don't.
It's insane. It's like one thing, one tiny thing, and like your whole life has changed forever.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many families that have gone through like sudden deaths, and you know, like we had a girl who had postpartum depression and hung herself 3 weeks after she had her baby, and she was brain dead.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's like you deal with, like, you see the husband come in there, and you know, I can't even imagine having to deal with that. Like, we kind of see it on the outside, but like we see it, so we know it happens. People don't think that stuff happens. You know, they're like, oh, that doesn't happen to me. That won't happen to me. But you know what? It could happen to you.
I mean, look, accidents happen. You know, there's things that
Yeah.
we can't control, but there's a lot of careless people that, you know, we can control an accident. Seeing all of that stuff, do you take that home with you? Does that weigh on you at all?
It does. It does. I try not to let it, but internally, I think it takes a while for me to decompress if I have a bad day and I see something really tragic like that. I remember it was Christmas. I worked Christmas this past year, and we had 2 cardiac arrest patients come into our ICU. And one of them was like in his 30s. He was like this guy in his 30s that was just like jogging, and he just like cardiac arrested, and he ended up being brain dead and had like a bunch of little young kids and stuff. And then we had another person who was also, I think, like in his 40s that was a cardiac arrest, and was just like, it's just sad because you have things like that, you know, you go home and it's Christmas, and it's just like you've seen all this crazy stuff. And then you go home and your kids are all excited to open presents, and you're just like, oh, hi. Like, you just have to like switch gears, and you're like, okay, now I guess I have to be happy. Even though I'm just like saw the most horrific thing, I have to be happy now. So you kind of just like compartmentalize it and like, you know, and deal with it internally and pretend like you're happy. I mean, you are happy.
Yeah.
It's just like, I do feel like I carry a lot of it with me. And the older I get, I feel like the more I take home with me. When I was younger, it didn't bother me at all. Like, because I hadn't personally gone through stuff. But I feel like when you go through your own personal things and you have your own losses, I feel like that's when it really hits you because you can really empathize with the patients and the family members.
Yeah. The more mature you get, the more it probably affects you and hits you emotionally.
And then once you have kids, you know, I mean, every single day I worry about like if I were to get into a car accident or my husband and then one of us would just be gone.
Do you think
like
it makes
that.
you paranoid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's probably part of my anxiety that I have. Maybe it has to do with why I get anxious in the car too, because I'm like, oh my God, what if I'm never what if I'm never gonna see my kids again? Like this is it. I'm gonna die and I'm never gonna see them again.
You actually have those thoughts?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That's exhausting.
It is.
I can't
exhausting.
imagine.
I know. I had a panic attack one time driving to work. Like in my worst of it, it was maybe when my son was like 6 months old. My daughter was like 2.5. And I was driving to work and I was on the Boulevard of the Allies going to Oakland. I don't know if you know that road, but like it has no shoulder, so you can't pull off. And I started having a panic attack and like it just came out of the blue. Like honestly, I don't even know what triggered it. I just all of a sudden was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I got like really lightheaded and like my face got really numb and tingly and like I thought I was having a stroke because my whole arm like went numb and like tingly like down to my feet. And I was like, oh my God, I'm having a stroke. I'm going to die. And then I couldn't pull over. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. And then I'm going to get into a car accident and I'm going to flip over the bridge.
Just one worse thought after another.
And it's just like, and then I kind of got like, I don't know if it's tunnel vision or not really tunnel vision, but like I lost my peripheral eyesight, like my peripheral vision. And so it was just like black. And then I just was like, just look at the road, just keep going, just make it to, you know, and I knew it was going to pass because whenever I have like anxiety and panicky like that, and it passes after a few minutes. But it's during those 2 minutes, it seems like the longest 2 minutes of your life.
I can't imagine. I haven't ever been through a panic attack or anxiety attack. I do know people very close to me that have, and it's crippling.
It is. It's crippling. It's very real. And, you know, if you don't know what it's like, some people, you know, are very judgy about it. And they're like, stop worrying so much, you know. But it's actually, you can't control it. It's out of your control. Like having like a true panic attack is insane. Yeah.
So you've mentioned your husband and your kids.
Yes.
So you're obviously married with kids.
Yes.
Tell me about your kids.
My daughter is 9. Her name is Esme. And she's such a good one. She really is. She's the most empathetic kid that I know. I mean, not that I know a lot of kids, but I've also heard like from her teachers and stuff that she's just like very caring. She's very insightful. So my daughter was an identical twin and I lost her twin when I was 30 weeks pregnant. And we've always kind of like people say, you know, I didn't want to hide it from her. I didn't want to be like, you know, have her be like 10 years old and be like, oh, by the way, you have an identical twin.
Yeah, that's a little bit harder to digest that old.
So I actually got a book. I got a book made. It was like one of those personalized books. And it was like the story of Hazel, which is the name of her twin sister. And it was like, you know, was like a cartoon picture book. And it had pictures of like both of the babies inside the mommy's tummy, you know. And then it like went through like what happened when it was time for the other one to leave. And like, so we read her that book. My mom was a librarian, so she was always about education with books and like teaching experiences through books. So whenever like we went through puberty or like big life lessons, when we were adopted, she had a book, because people always ask us about our adoption too. Like, at what age did you know you were adopted? And I mean, besides the obvious that like I'm brown and they're white,
you know, you're a little different,
you know, but we always had a book that we read that said, why were you adopted? And so we would read the book and we kind of just grew up knowing. So that's kind of how I wanted to approach it with her. I wanted her to just grow up knowing about her twin sister.
So how old was she when you read her that book?
I would say maybe like 2.
Okay.
like when she was old enough to like kind of know things, but not really know things, you know. And we have a little like memory block in her room, and I have a frame of like all of the ultrasounds with both of them, like pictures of the ultrasounds with both of them, hung up in her room as well.
That's cute.
So yeah, so and she always talks about her. Like, she always like when she was really like maybe like 4 or 5 years old, she was always talking about her. Like she would just tell strangers. Like we would be just at the park and she would say, "My name is Esme and I have a twin sister. Her name's Hazel."
And that's that.
It's,
Wow. Like she's still with her.
yeah, it's so crazy.
Wow.
She would draw pictures. She wants to be an artist, so she started drawing at a very young age. But she would draw pictures of like her and Hazel next to each other, and Hazel had angel wings
Aw.
and her eyes closed. Yeah, and she would, she just like randomly talks about her sometimes. Like, yeah, and now she's like obsessed with trying to like contact the spirit world because she wants to talk to her.
Well, I have my opinions about that stuff. I'm not saying that that's not possible, but
Yeah.
I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you found out that your 30-week-old twin baby girl was gone?
It was like it was crazy. It was so I went in at that time. I was going in for ultrasounds twice a week because they had suspected that she was smaller than the other baby. So they were monitoring them very closely and just took all the precautions in case they had to do like an early emergency C-section. So I was going in for ultrasounds 2 times a week. And I had my last ultrasound, I think like on a Friday. And I had worked 3 days at the hospital. And then I had my next one on like a Tuesday. And I went in like, because I would just go by myself because, my husband couldn't take off 2 days every single week for these ultrasounds. So I would just go in like it was just like a routine thing. And the ultrasound tech was like, "When was your last ultrasound?" I was like, 4 days ago." She's like, "Okay." And she's like, and then she just told me right then and there. She's like, "Well, I'm really sorry, but I can't find baby A's heartbeat." And I was like, "What?" What? I thought I don't know. I don't even know what I thought. And then she asked if I wanted to see the radiologist, and I was like, no. I had an appointment with the doctors after that point anyway, so I was like, it's fine. I'll just. So she hurried up and did the ultrasound of the other baby, and I like at that point I had so many ultrasounds that I pretty much would have been able to tell if something was wrong if she wouldn't have told me. Because a lot of people were like, she's not allowed to tell you that, but like I would have known anyway because I've already seen so many ultrasounds. And, and if it was done quickly, I would have been like, well, that was really quick compared to normal. So, but yeah, it was crazy. I kind of just like laid there. And then afterwards, I walked out of the room. I like went to like the main area. And I texted my husband and I said, because he was actually going to join me for the appointment afterwards. So I said, "Can you come now instead of like in 30 minutes? Like you need to come now." I said, I just texted it to him because I like couldn't even talk at that point. I was like, couldn't find baby A's heartbeat. Can you come now? And then I went into the bathroom and I went into a stall and I lost it. Like I've never cried like that in my entire life. Like it was like one of those howls that you hear people crying that you never want to hear. Yeah. It was crazy. And I'm not one to like cry in public usually, but like it was just everyone that was knocking on the door like, "Are you okay? Do you need something?" But I couldn't even talk at that point because I was just like
distraught,
heaving so hard. I couldn't even say, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay," or "not okay," or whatever. It was so bad. And then like for the next like 24 hours, I couldn't stop crying. It was just I couldn't talk. Like I called my dad to tell him, and I could barely even like tell him on the phone. It was just he was like, "I can't understand you." I'm like, "Oh, I can't." Like it was it was the craziest thing. And especially since we were so close, you know,
Yeah.
like I wonder all the time if they would have known that she was like had like in distress, if they would have just done, because there's babies that are born
At 30 weeks.
at 30
yeah.
weeks, you know,
So
and they're
she was
okay.
probably going to be born in the next couple of weeks anyways.
Yeah, yeah. I ended up, my water ended up breaking like 4 weeks later. So I ended up delivering 4 weeks after that. But yeah, it was definitely the craziest time of my life, for sure.
Not to be crude, but you said there's 4 days between these appointments. So you were potentially walking around with a dead baby inside you for 4 days
Yeah,
and had no idea.
no. And even the doctors, they asked me that. They were like, did you feel any? Because usually they say, like, you would feel less movement in your belly. They're like, did you feel less movement? I'm like, no, because Esme, my other baby, she was normal. So she was still kicking around. And the babies moved all the time. So I didn't know what position they were in. So I didn't know, like, this side wasn't moving and this side was moving. So it just kind of was, I just felt movement everywhere.
So Esme was masking
And
the lack of movement from the other.
So I like, but that was the strangest part of it all was walking around with the dead baby. It was like, it was the most unreal feeling ever. Like I was just like walking around the halls at work thinking like, oh,
Everything's fine.
no big deal. I just have a dead baby inside me. This is like this is like the strangest feeling. I've had that feeling twice in my life where I've felt really, really happy and really sad simultaneously. So I've had that happen twice in my life, and it's a really hard thing to deal with when you're so excited because you're having your first baby, you know, and you want to be happy and you want to be excited, and of course you are, because like you're gonna be a parent. How can that not make you excited?
Sure.
You know, but at the same time you're just completely devastated. I had that was one time that I had that experience. And I also had that experience when my mom died too. She died about 11 years ago now, I think. And we actually got married like 3 months before she died. So we were like planning a wedding, and you know, like we got engaged, and then 2 months later we found out she had cancer. So then we're like, wow, we got to get married now, because we knew it was stage 4 pancreatic. We knew she had like 6 to 10 months. So yeah, so we ended up just having our really small, intimate wedding at Phipps. There was like 13 people there. It was just immediate family, and which I don't regret. Like I always wanted to have a small wedding, so it was just like a really nice, small, intimate wedding. My grandma was there. My like 95-year-old grandma was there, and I never thought that my 95-year-old grandma would outlive my mom, but it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a couple months later, my mom died. So it was like you're trying to plan this wedding. It's like the happiest time of your life, you know, but you're also dealing with your mom dying at the same time. So it's like, you know, I remember thinking like, how can I be happy? Like I'm supposed to be happy, and then you feel guilty for feeling happy, and it's like I shouldn't feel guilty for. I mean, I deserve to be happy. It's fine. And my mom wouldn't want me to feel guilty, you know, about being happy. Like she wants me to be happy. Like that's kind of what got me through a lot of it is my mom always wanted to be happy. Like she said every year for her birthday wish was always for her children to be happy. And so that kind of got me through a lot, was just thinking that like she knows I want to be happy, and she knows I wouldn't want to be stuck, you know, being sad about her.
Sure. So back to the unfortunate death of your twin baby girl.
Yes.
So when you ended up going into labor with Esme, was the other baby still inside you at that point?
Yes.
So you birthed both at the same time?
Mm-hmm. So Hazel came out first, and then Esme afterwards. Wait, was it that way? No. Esme came first. Yeah, that's right. Esme came first, and I didn't even get to hold her because she was 34 weeks. So they immediately put her into a warmer and took her to the NICU. So they kind of just like wheeled her beside me, and I waved to her, and my husband took a picture of her, and then they wheeled her down, and then I gave birth to Hazel, and I mean she was so small. It was like one push, and like, you know, she was out, and then they wrapped her up and gave her to me so I could hold her. So my husband and I both held her. And they like took some pictures of her that it took like months for me to look at them. I couldn't look at them for a long time. But yeah, they took some little pictures of her feet and her hands, and, you know, Yeah.
Talk about mixed emotions.
Yeah. Yeah,
You're
exactly.
ecstatic because you have a baby girl, and you're devastated because you don't have another baby girl.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really hard, especially since there was like in the room right next to us, in the NICU, there was another set of twins in the next room. And so it's just like a punch in the gut, you know, like you see other people like, oh, you had twins, you know, even now, even when I see like twin parents still, it's just like, I still kind of get like this weird feeling.
Like resentment?
I don't know if it's resentment or like jealousy that like, I mean, I think at first it was like resentment because it's like I was supposed to be a twin mom, you know? And like even sometimes now, like seeing my daughter growing up and getting older, it's just like thinking that I would have had two of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's crazy.
They say everything happens for a reason. Have you ever thought of what that reason might have been?
I do think about that because so we were gonna stop at two. We knew we didn't want more than two kids. So when I found out we were gonna have identicals, I was like, all right, that's it, we're done. You know, I was kind of excited about that fact that I was only gonna have to be
One and
pregnant
done, yeah.
one time. But yeah, I mean that didn't end up happening. So when my daughter was 11 months old, I got pregnant with my son, and now I have him. And this sounds really bad, but you know, we probably wouldn't have him if Hazel would have survived. So, and I can't imagine my life without my boy. He is so my mama's boy so much. He's definitely my person. So I can't imagine my life without him. So yeah.
So that's the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a good reason to me. As
Yeah.
terrible as that might sound.
I know.
You
And
know.
like, it's weird. Like, I don't ever want him to feel like, oh, well, you know, I wouldn't have existed if,
Right.
you know.
Hopefully he doesn't feel that if he
Right.
sees this.
I
It's not what your mom means. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah.
So how'd you meet your husband?
At the hospital.
Okay.
Yes, we had our little Grey's Anatomy moment. You know, he saw me in the ICU.
What did he do in the hospital? What was his
He's a
profession?
pharmacist.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was rounding with the ICU team and just saw me working there, and he just was like, oh, do you know which? He would just come up to me randomly and like ask me questions, like, do you know where the bathroom is, or do you know, like do you know which nurse is taking
Typical.
care of this patient, like, and it was funny because I had no idea. I was so clueless. I was like, I was so clueless at the time. I was just like, oh yeah, this.
You already asked me that 3 hours ago, but I'll tell you again. Typical. Oldest trick in the book.
I know, but you know, it worked. So.
Yeah. So is he still a pharmacist? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep, he works at the VA now.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, he worked at Presby for 5 years, and then he moved to the VA after that.
Yeah. What are his interests? What's he into?
Oh gosh, I don't. He doesn't really have like a thing, to be honest. Like, you know, I mean, I found my modeling stuff like later in life, but I don't know. He doesn't really have a thing. He kind of just decompresses on his computer. He's a big Redditor, so
Okay.
he's, you know, he doesn't have social media. He's a very private person and doesn't have any social media. So that's kind of like his social media outlet. Is just like he doesn't post on it. He just, you know, reads stories and looks at cat pictures and, you know.
Okay.
You know, silly animal memes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just like what he does. And he goes to the gym and works out and,
Yeah.
you know, so.
So he just lays low.
Yeah, we both are just very like homebody type people. I mean, even when we were dating, we never really did anything. We never went out. We just hung out on the couch together, watched with TV on or whatever. You know.
That's what Maria and I do. It's like
Yeah.
we could have like 5 free hours on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to do? Nothing.
Let's do something fun.
We're
but then,
just
like,
gonna sit here
We're just gonna sit
and
on the
do
couch
nothing. Yeah.
and drink beer.
The thought of going out sometimes is like frightening. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, we have to see people. We have to do something. We
Yeah.
have to find parking. We have to. It's like panic sets in.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
For
other
sure.
people go out every night like it's nothing. That's not me.
I know. So even in my 20s, like I said, that was never me. I was always scared of getting, so this is kind of funny, but when I started working at Presby, I was 20, so I couldn't even drink yet, And, but I mean, my sister was older and I lived with her. So like we would have beer and stuff around the house. And so I would drink, and, but I was just so scared of it. She'd always want me to go out with her because she had friends that worked at clubs and stuff. And she's like, come with me, come out. I can get you in. I can. But I was so like, I went out once and I was so paranoid the whole time. I didn't even have fun because I was so scared of getting a DUI. And because I work at the hospital, I can't do, I mean, I don't even know what would have happened.
Career could be over.
So yeah. I was like, I can't do this. So I don't know. I kind of just like stayed at home and just drank beer and watch TV by myself. And that's still what I do.
It's safer that way.
It's still what I do after the kids go to bed. It's like my me time,
Yeah. So I do want to ask you one thing. So you said that your job has made you paranoid, kind of afraid of the world, essentially. When you lost your twin, did that make you afraid to get pregnant again?
It kind of did, yeah. I think it did and it didn't because there was a reason that happened. It's known that identical twin pregnancies are really high risk pregnancies. And the chance of that happening again is like, it's pretty rare to get pregnant naturally with twins. So, I mean, I knew I wasn't going to get pregnant with twins again. So sure. I wasn't as nervous about it. I kind of, in the beginning, like when I found out I was pregnant, I kind of like dismissed it in my mind, like for the first few months. It's like, oh, it's fine, whatever. Like I didn't want to get attached because the first 12 weeks is the highest chance that you have a miscarriage. Sure. So I didn't want to, that's why people like wait 12 weeks.
Before telling anybody.
Because, it's very high risk to have a miscarriage. So I kind of in my mind was just like, whatever, it's fine. Like, nah, we'll see what happens. Like, I didn't even tell anybody. I didn't even tell my dad until I was like 14 weeks.
Until you knew.
Yeah. And it wasn't because I didn't want to tell him. I just I hadn't seen him like in person and I wanted to tell him in person. If I would have seen him in person, I would have told him. But, I didn't tell anybody at work or anything until I was like, I mean, I really didn't even tell anybody. And then like one time someone saw me and when I was starting to show and they were like, wait, you're pregnant? It's like, yeah. It's like, I mean, I'm not just going to go around just telling random people, hey, guess what? I'm pregnant. But it was kind of hard to keep it a secret at first because I was so sick and I was at work like dry heaving, like in patients' rooms, like, don't mind me. I'm just not feeling good today.
Yeah. Must have been something I had for lunch.
Yeah.
All right, girl. I want to talk about modeling, but first, are you thirsty?
Sure.
What do you want? Anything look interesting to you? Do you drink bourbon?
No.
Okay, so this is going to be new to you.
Yes. So I've only drank bourbon like twice in my life. I think ever.
This is going to be good.
So I would say go easy on me. Pick something that I'm not going to spit out and projectile vomit onto you.
That would make for a really good show.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
That'd probably go viral.
So I actually did that one time. It was funny. Someone was doing my makeup and I took a drink of water and I immediately just I choked on the water and I coughed and it just
all over the place.
It spewed all over her face because she was doing my makeup and she was right in my face.
That's disgusting. Well, let's not do that.
It was so funny.
If possible. All right, I'll take it easy on you. Let's do this. Oh, I didn't open this one yet. Look at this. I'm opening something just for you.
Oh, thank you.
So this is a toasted rye bourbon. So ryes typically have a, say, fruitier taste.
Okay, that's
more
good.
Closer to kind of like a wine.
Okay.
Maybe.
I like wine, so.
Okay. And then the toasted means it's been finished probably twice in a separate barrel.
Wait, what does that mean?
So bourbon is aged for 2 years.
Okay.
In a new charred oak barrel. That's what makes a bourbon a bourbon. So bourbon is whiskey that has been aged for 2 years in a new charred oak barrel.
Okay.
So when something's toasted, it's typically then transferred from that barrel that it sat in for 2 years into another barrel to take on additional flavors from the wood of that other barrel.
Okay.
Ooh, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
So hopefully you like it. And if you don't, lie to me and tell me you do. Just kidding. Give it a smell. What's it smell like?
That smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can definitely smell like the fruity. I don't know if it's nutty or fruity.
I do get a little nutty.
Yeah, it kind of like smells like amaretto
Okay.
to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just because that's the only other thing that I like.
Maybe. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, as you breathe fire. Do you taste anything other than burning? Do you get any flavors out of that?
A little, but I can't place it.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
as you continue to sip on it at your own pace, you're going to start to taste different things. I
okay.
promise.
I don't know what I'm tasting, honestly.
I do get a little nuttiness. It's funny that you said that on the nose. I'm getting a little bit on the palate, as they say. But yeah, I mean, if you want more, you can have more. If you don't, then you don't have to. I'm not going to waste it though. So modeling.
Yes.
What got you into that?
So I think I was talking a little bit about it before, about my postpartum like anxiety. I wouldn't say I really had like the depression part of it, but I think that I had like a postpartum anxiety that with maybe some secondary depression like related to the anxiety, because when you have anxiety and those panic attacks, you can't really do anything normally, like it impacts your normal everyday life. And in turn, it kind of makes you depressed because you can't live normally. So, I really fell into this crazy anxiety type thing. I wasn't sleeping, which doesn't help. I also deal with chronic insomnia, which is another whole thing.
Wow.
But I've had chronic insomnia, I think, since I was a kid. I didn't really know it was a problem until I started dating my husband, actually. And then, we would have sleepovers and he would be like, do you always toss and turn all the time? Like, do you wake up like that all the time?
Do you ever sleep?
And because, he's the type, he falls asleep and doesn't wake up till his alarm goes off.
Oh, how lucky.
Right. Lucky. That's like unheard of. It was like, I was like, what? Does that even happen? Like,
Are you alive?
Yeah. So I wake up like every 2 hours or more every night. Like I never sleep more than like 2 hours straight usually.
Is that considered insomnia then?
Yeah. Chronic insomnia is if you sleep less than I forget what exactly. I looked it up at one time. It's it's a certain amount of hours or less consecutively, consistently is technically like the diagnosis of chronic insomnia.
I might be borderline because I don't sleep very well at all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
but anyway.
Look it up. But yeah, I looked into it and everything because like when he said that to me, I was like, I just thought that was normal. Because my whole life, even as a kid, I remember I climbed into bed with my parents one time at a really young age. I don't know, maybe I was like 6 or 7. And I remember laying there with my eyes open thinking, why am I awake and everyone else is sleeping? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I just thought that was me. And it was like, I didn't know any better. I was a kid. I didn't know that it was like a problem or whatever, So I kind of just always had that, so I thought it was normal, but now I realize it's not normal.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had this chronic insomnia with the anxiety, and I went through a really bad period when my son was maybe like starting when he was like 3 months old, like 3 to 6 months old, where I slept 2 hours or less for like 10 weeks straight. Like I literally didn't, like for like 10 weeks, I didn't sleep. And I thought I was going to end up in like a mental hospital because I couldn't, I mean, it was like physically starting to manifest. Like I remember one time I woke up at like 5 a.m. to go to the bathroom and I had like vertigo or something. I couldn't even walk straight. Like I didn't even, I wasn't drinking because I was breastfeeding.
Right.
So I literally had to like hold on to the walls because everything was like moving because I just was like my lack of sleep, you know. I don't even know how I drove to work, honestly. Like I would come to work, like I would work like 3 days in a row, like 12-hour shifts in a row, and be on like 4 hours of sleep in like 3 days.
Yeah.
And my coworkers were like, I was like, yeah, I've been up for 68 out of 72 hours. They were like, because one time someone came up to me, they were like, you look like crap.
Thanks.
I was like, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was like, it's probably because I've been up for 3 days. They're like, why don't you go home? Like, how are you even functional? Like, you must be superhuman because most people can't function like that.
The importance of sleep is beyond probably what most people even realize.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
the studies that have gone into sleep and the importance of like having, I don't know the hours. It's different for everybody, no matter what your age is. But
I think it's for adults. I think it's like 7 hours. Like if you get 7 hours, is considered a good amount.
But sleep is so important. And people, there's so many people out there that just want to grind and like stay up all night because they think it's cool. And, oh, I'm a hard worker. I don't sleep. I don't need sleep. Dude, you're hurting yourself big time.
It really affects everything and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
You know, I slept well for like, I usually sleep well maybe like every third night. Like every third or fourth night, I'll sleep well where I'll feel rested. But other than that, like I just feel I'm like chronically jet lagged all the time. Like I just live in this chronic state of being jet lagged and tired all the time.
Now, are you taking any medication for any of this stuff?
Not for my insomnia problems, but so when I had all those anxiety problems, so that was also part of it. So I wasn't sleeping. My son was a baby, and I was adamant that I wanted to breastfeed him. So I ended up breastfeeding him for like 2 years. But in the beginning, my PCP was like, you should take something. Like I don't know, I can give you like Xanax or something to help you sleep at night, but you can't breastfeed. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But I did start taking Zoloft maybe when he was like 6 months old, and I'm still on that, and it's helped tremendously. And I can't stress how much medication does help if you need it, because I was so against it at first. I was like, no, I don't want to take anything. I don't want to start that. But I went like 3 months like suffering. Like I would have panic attacks every single day, multiple times a day. I would text my like I would have the 2 kids at home. I would barely be able to get through. Like I had my like newborn and my 2-year-old at home, and like they would both be screaming at the same time. And I would just like shut down, and I would just like sit there and just like they would be screaming, and I would just sit there like crying because I couldn't handle it. I was like, I can't. And then I would feel like, so my panic attacks manifested in a way that made me feel like I was going to pass out.
Okay.
So I would get really shaky. I would start seeing like stars, get really lightheaded.
Like a safety concern.
Yeah. And so I would remember one time I was leaning over the table and my daughter was like at my feet, and I was like feeling like I was going to pass out. And I texted my husband. I was like, you have to come home. Like, I can't deal with this, you know? And so, yeah, it was a horrible time. It was a very horrible time for me. Probably one of the worst. And I really lost myself. Like you were talking about that other woman, too, who said that once she became a mom, that was her identity. And I really lost who I was. I felt like I was a mom, and then I went to work. And I didn't grow up here, so I don't have friends. So I literally like didn't have any adult interaction except for at work and then my husband. And I came home and I was a mom, and then I went to work and I came home, and it was just like this vicious cycle, and I had nothing for myself. And I didn't realize until a lot later how important it is to actually do something for yourself to keep your own identity. And I think a lot of parents go through that.
I think a lot of parents are afraid to do that because they feel selfish.
Yes, and that's the other thing. I mean, trust me, I go through my fair share of mom guilt, but I also think that, you know, I've had a lot of people to like reassure me that it's good for the kids to see you doing stuff that you want to do and having your own life, and, you know, not just like sitting at home all day. Like, you know, I'm not saying that like sitting at home all day, like being a stay-at-home mom is bad. I'm not saying that at all. But, you know, I guess it's good for them to see that I'm doing something that I love
Yeah.
doing.
They want to see mom happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do have mom guilt sometimes because my son told me the other day that like I was going to I forget what it was the last time I had a photo shoot on the weekend, and I was like, I'm going to a photo shoot. I'll be back later. You know, he's like, you're always going to photo shoots, and it made me feel guilty, but it's fine. I think that, and I am away a lot. Like sometimes on my days off, like I do on the weekends, I do go away a lot for like, for photo shoots, which take all day sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and it puts a lot on my husband, but, and I do feel mom guilt for that. But I hope that the kids don't remember that I'm gone. Like, I hope that they just remember the time that I'm with them.
Yeah. As long as you're present when you're there.
Like I feel like they're gonna remember that I tuck them in every night. I snuggle with them every night. I still sleep with my son. Don't judge me, but I still sleep with my son every night. He's 7, and I still sleep with him, so I snuggle with him all night long. And so I feel like we have Friday night movie nights every week, and like Saturday night movie nights, and so I feel like I do spend time with them, and I hope that they, when I'm gone a lot, I hope that they realize, they just remember when they're older. I hope they just remember like the times that I was actually there for them.
I'm sure they will. And look, it's okay to have a little balance.
Yeah.
As long as your kids aren't being neglected and left home alone for hours on end at their age, having to fend for themselves with making food and that's another level. But it's not at that point, so you have nothing to worry about. Don't be guilty.
I know. I know. So anyway, so I started doing photo shoots, and I kind of just randomly met a photographer, and she was like, you should do a photo shoot with me. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I didn't know anything about modeling or anything. And she was just doing this like photography campaign for herself where she was filming. It was like called the Faces campaign. And she was filming 40 women and making them have like their own like cover photo type of thing, like like making a normal person into like a celebrity for the day or whatever. And she's like, you should do this. You deserve this, And I was like, okay. And so I did it. And I don't know. I feel like that was definitely a turning point in my life because I saw the photos of myself and I didn't even think it was me. I was like, wait, is that really me? Yeah, I still even have those moments where I like look at a photo of myself. I'm like, are you sure that's me? Because I don't think that's me.
Yeah.
But it makes you see yourself in a different way, I think. And it's like, it's very empowering. And especially like as a mom, like having kids, it's just really makes you see yourself in a different way and makes you feel like beautiful again, And I don't know. I don't know. I just like fell in love with like the feeling, empowerment feeling. So I just started doing other photo shoots, like, just for fun. Before I decided to like, okay, you know what? I'm really going to like decide that I'm going to try to do this. I've always wanted to, so might as well.
Yeah. So you work for an agency?
Yeah, so I have 2 agencies now. One that's based in Columbus that covers like Michigan and Indiana and Kentucky and Western Ohio, and then I have one in Pittsburgh that kind of covers like this area. But yeah, so I got with the agency 2 years ago, and then this last agency I got with in October. So
okay. So what kind of shoots are you doing? I mean, we already saw the Amazon hand sanitizer.
Yeah. So the agencies are mostly just commercial print. So a lot of, people think that, oh, I'm going to be a model. I'm going to be like a high end and I'm going to do campaigns for Dior and, all those things. And it's, and honestly, unless you're like the, Naomi Campbell's and Tara Banks and stuff, you're not going to get booked for those things. And a lot of times they just book actresses for those things. They don't really book like they do book models, but you have to like really know somebody, I feel like, and you have to be on that level. So most people don't realize that you're not actually going to make any money modeling unless you do commercial print. So that's what makes money is commercial print and like the Purell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done a furniture store commercial. I did the last shoot that I did was Zoom for the agency. It was for Zoom. So if you see me on a Zoom commercial, take a picture and send it to me.
Tag her.
Yes. So yeah, I do a lot of self-tape submissions. I just film them in my house and I've gotten really good at them. I have like a whole like backdrop thing. I like, my lights and stuff.
Well, if you're doing them often enough, I'm sure you've gotten
Yeah.
really good at it. Are you comfortable in front of a camera? I mean, I know this is different.
Yeah.
They're not still shots, but
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I would say I'm pretty comfortable in front of the camera. I've done a couple music videos too, and which is kind of fun. I love doing that kind of stuff. Like I really love doing the creative stuff because that is the fun stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that like not doing a Purell thing is fun, but it's it's different. It's it's boring. It's like hand sanitizer. Like I like to do creative stuff just for fun and to keep my inspiration going and like my passion for modeling going. So I do a lot of my own like creative photo shoots and stuff. And
now how much, I guess, improvisation do you have for these shoots? Are you allowed to just kind of be yourself, or are you really following directions?
for like the commercials or
Whatever.
for the
Are you allowed to just
for
kind of
this-
like be you, or are you just following a strict kind of direction as
usually
far as what
it's
to
a
do?
direction. Yeah. I mean, for the self tapes, it's definitely direction because it's like the self tapes will be like for something specific. So like they'll like one time there was like a DiGiorno pizza that I like auditioned for. And it was like this whole script. Like you had to like go to the freezer, get a pizza out, pretend like you're laughing at the table with your family. Like I was like the mom. And then there was one where like you're shopping at the grocery store and then like you get the pizza out of the freezer and then it like they have like the whole script. They have like and then it's the aisle turns into a club with fancy lights and stuff, and then you're dancing with the pizza box in the middle of the aisle.
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
it's so funny. So actually, we had this one. I forget what it was for, but I was a self tape. I think it was for a Wayfair. It was for Wayfair. And I was doing this, and it's one of the things you had to do was like dance with a piece of furniture, or like dance with like a broom or something, a mop, or pretend like you're cleaning. And
Yeah.
so it was in the summer, and I was so the door was open, but like the screen door was there, but you could still see through. And I'm like doing this self tape. I'm like pretending to like dance and sing with this broom, and these maintenance guys are coming to check our furniture.
Oh my God.
And they come to the door and they ring the doorbell, and I could obviously tell they saw me because the look on their face was hysterical. They were like, I was like, and I kind of just played it off. I was like, oh, don't mind me. I'm just doing an audition for a commercial.
Wow.
So funny. But yeah, so for like all different types of things, it's fun.
What's your claim to fame modeling so far? Like, what's the thing you're most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of trying to help others realize that it's never too late to do something. I've had a lot of people, like women specifically, message me and say that like I'm really inspiring because they've always wanted to model, but they thought it was too late because they had kids and they were older.
Yeah.
And like, I started my modeling career as a 32-year-old mom. And so it's never too late, and I think that it's really, it makes me proud that like I feel like I've helped people because I've had multiple people message me and be like, oh my God, you're such an inspiration.
Yeah.
Like either like with body positivity and like embracing the fact that like you change after you have kids and you're never the same. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's been very difficult, but it's like one thing that I think all women struggle with too,
Yeah.
And so just like embracing the fact that I'm like older now and getting gray hairs, but I'm going to embrace it. And I think that it's okay. And I think that it's never too late to do something that you want to do. And hopefully I'll help other people that have always wanted to do something, but have thought that it was too late. It's never too late. You could always do it.
That's very true. Now, being that you are in front of a camera so much and all these photos are being taken and you're basically seeing all of your imperfections, if you will, do you have any
Yeah.
insecurities?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of insecurities. You know, like you mean just in general?
Yeah, I mean,
Or?
because, if someone went to your social media right now
Oh, yeah,
and they
yeah.
saw all of your pictures, you come across as being very confident. You got it all together. You're proud of your appearance. Obviously, you like putting it out there and sharing the pictures.
Yeah.
So, what do people not see?
Um, I'm very self-conscious about certain parts of my body, but the thing is that people have to realize is that I feel like in order to grow as a person, you have to go out of your comfort zone. You know, you have to do things. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think that like amazing things happen when you do. The first time I did, so I wanted to do a boudoir shoot for the first time. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like
I know what it is, yeah.
basically like lingerie.
Lingerie,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I really just wanted to get comfortable with it because I wanted to get comfortable with being in front of the camera, like, and basically anything because you never know what you're going to get booked. So I actually submitted for, it was a, always like the pads,
Yeah.
like it was like for this, like,
Unfortunately, I know what
yes.
they are.
So it was like this always discreet underwear for like postpartum like women, but it was a print shoot for the packaging, and it was I wanted it so bad. It was $13,000. It was a $13,000 job.
Damn.
Yeah, I would have always been known as like the underwear
Underwear
girl,
girl.
probably, but whatever. But anyway, so like, we had to submit photos of ourselves in like a nude bra and underwear and like different angles so they could see. It was basically like going to be a shot from like our neck to like our thigh, like showing off like the underwear, you
Yeah.
know. And but like you have to be comfortable. You have to get comfortable with doing that kind of stuff if you really want to go for it in modeling, and the only way to do that is to do it.
Yeah.
So, I feel like the more that you do it, the more comfortable you get. And the photographer helps a lot too because they know the angles and you get to know like what outfits look good on flatter your body, and that also really helps your confidence. And so everybody has their moments where they're insecure, but like that's another thing I've really grown a lot in that. And like seeing myself, almost like seeing myself for the first time again.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I tell all women, like, even if you don't model, I really recommend like doing a professional photo shoot like at least once in your life, because it really is like empowering and it makes you see yourself in a different way than you normally are.
Do you have any body image issues?
I mean, I never really used to. I would say I only have them like after having kids. I was always really, really tiny. Like I was like the 100-pound, like really tiny person growing up. And then after having my kids, like I just could never, like after my son, I should say, after my daughter, I was like back into within 6 months, I was like back into my size zero jeans.
And
like,
everyone
back to
hated you for
105
it.
pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no stretch marks or anything. And then after my son, I just like couldn't lose the last 20 pounds. Like I was like 30, and like I guess this is just gonna be me from now on. And I just have to accept that.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Like your body changes as you get older, and that's okay. And,
Yeah.
so I think that it's been hard, just like with everybody else, but you just have to accept it and, embrace it.
What does your husband think about this modeling stuff? Does he have anything to say about it?
So it's funny because everybody asked me that. Like when I first started, like, posting pictures and stuff, everyone's like, oh my God. Like I even had someone at work one day, they were like, I can't believe you post those pictures. My husband would never let me post pictures like that, And
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my head, first of all, I'm a grown woman. I don't need his permission.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah.
I don't need his permission. If it's something that, and I feel like if it's something that makes your spouse happy and that they want to do, then even if you don't agree with it, you should still support them.
Yeah.
Like a good spouse would support you no matter what. And I think he doesn't really say it in words, I guess I should say, but I think he's proud of me. I think he's proud. He's happy that I have something that I can do for myself, other than just the kids, something that I enjoy doing. And I think that he realizes how important it is to me. And honestly, like I wouldn't be able to do it without him because he's over the years, like he picks up the slack at home when I'm doing photo shoots and when I travel like overnight to do something for the agency or, and he doesn't really say it, but he shows it by being there for the kids and for me in the house and everything whenever I'm not. So
Yeah.
I think he's proud of me.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. And I'm sure, and the reason I asked is because I'm sure everyone would view this a little bit differently depending
Yeah.
on, your security level. Like
Yeah.
if my girlfriend were doing that stuff, I don't know if I have the security to be able to
Yeah.
just be like, oh yeah, that's like, I would probably feel a certain way. Not that I wouldn't be proud,
Yeah.
but I'd be like everyone else is seeing this part of
Yeah.
you. Like, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's like, you cherish that.
Yeah.
At your temple,
Yeah.
and like everyone's seeing it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it would make me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
But as
I
long
don't know.
as you're not,
He doesn't ever say that.
well, that's
Maybe he does. Maybe he does feel like that, but he doesn't tell me.
Yeah.
But like I'll like send him all the photos because he doesn't have like social media. But after I do photo shoots, I always send him all the photos from like my the photo shoots and stuff, and like he'll look at them. He's like, "Oh, those are nice." That's all he says. He's like, "They're nice." I'm like, "Okay."
wonder what he really thinks. We may never know.
But yeah, I mean, he doesn't say like don't do that or I
Right.
don't want you to do that. I think like so when I started doing this, he said that his biggest concern is that I'm gonna have to deal with all the comments. He's like, I know how the internet is. Everyone is brutal, with everything. So I just don't want you to get discouraged and feel bad about yourself or your image because of people saying bad things or because of comments.
Yeah.
So that was his main concern with me doing this was me dealing with the comments and dealing with people.
That's a caring concern to have. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you gotten those comments?
Oh, all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
What are some of the nastiest things that you've heard about
I've,
yourself?
I've had people post on some of my like boudoir stuff that I'm setting a bad example for my kids. Like, you're terrible. Like, are you teaching your daughter to be like a stripper or something? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't think so. I think I'm teaching her to like, embrace herself and,
Love your body.
yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing and be confident in yourself and be who you are. What else? I mean, I've had, of course, like all the gross comments, all the gross guy comments all the time. I actually had a guy from Turkey one time DM me and like blatantly say, come to Turkey to have sex with him. He was like, come to Turkey so I can have sex with you. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, I'm going to do that. It's like sometimes you think like, what are these guys thinking? Like they really think that you would do that?
They think they're that charming.
Like, really?
That you're going to drop what you're doing.
Yep. It's like, I've had like stuff like that. I've had people comment on the color of my skin. I've had people say like, she's too dark or like, stuff like that.
What's too dark?
I know. Like,
Because it's darker than them?
yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I've had people like make racial comments about like, oh, like that girl's a blackie or whatever. I don't know. Like, but like the first couple times I had people comment on stuff like that, like negative things, it really discouraged me. Like I was, oh my God. And like I had somebody at the hospital one time. I had a nurse come up to me that I work with that I thought I was like pretty cool with, and like she has kids the same age as my kids and we always talk about mom stuff, and she was like, oh, I can't believe you post all that stuff, like like I would never have the courage to post all of that like after having kids, and and it just like really made me think like, am I doing something wrong? Like I almost stopped modeling because of it.
Yeah. That sounds like a her problem, not a you problem.
I know, but
right?
it made me feel like I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to move past it, ignore it. There's always going to be, once you get to like a certain level, you're always going to have haters. You're always going to have people that aren't going to like what you do. And you just can't let that intimidate you. You can't let it stop you from doing what you want to do, because there's always going to be those people. And there's always the people who are supportive too. I have a lot of people who are very supportive of me.
Yeah.
And say that I'm inspiring and keep doing what I'm doing. And
Do you chalk the hate up to jealousy?
I don't know.
I bet you more than half of it comes from jealousy.
Yeah, it could be. It could be that, like, they don't have the confidence to do it, so they're attacking other people that do have the confidence to do it. And
pull you down to lift them up.
yeah.
I hate those people.
I know. Like, I just, I don't know. I just want everybody to win. That's what I always tell people. It's like, I just want everyone to win, honestly. I don't judge people. I'm like the most open person you could ever meet, open-minded, and do what you want to do type of person.
Yeah.
And I'll support you if that's what you want to do, if that's what makes you happy.
I mean, you're very genuine. You're very humble. You didn't come in here like you were the shit.
Yeah. I don't think, it's funny because I still get like self-conscious sometimes about it,
But that's a good trait to have. You're not walking around like, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, yeah, right. But seriously, I mean, you're humble, and that says a lot about you, and you want to inspire people. This isn't, oh, look at me.
Yeah. No,
Aliya. This is a whole, this is more about like the overall mission to.
And it's a process. Right. I tell people that too. Like, I didn't just start modeling one day and then start doing like lingerie photo shoots. It took me years to get to that point where I was comfortable doing that. Yeah. And it's a whole process, and it's like a comfort level thing that you get comfortable doing it. And like, the more you do it, the more comfortable you are.
Just like with anything else.
Yeah, but but I still, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but sometimes like I feel intimidated by myself. Like, it's almost like that. Like, what do they call it? There's like a social media thing. Is it like imposter syndrome or something? Mm-hmm. Where like, I don't know. It's weird.
Well, you said earlier, sometimes you'll look at the pictures and you won't believe it's you.
Yeah, I don't even, like, it's weird. Like, when I'm at home, just like in my sweatpants and stuff, it just doesn't seem like me. Like, I'll look at pictures, I'm like, that's not really me. I don't know.
You should have rolled in here in your sweatpants.
I know.
That would have been great.
Well, so that was good. So
do a quick change and come back in your pajamas. Oh my God,
that would have been so, like, a transition.
Next time.
You're like, ugh.
Damn.
I know. So it was funny because when I was trying to decide on like what to wear, I was like, well, I could either be the mom and wear sweatpants and like a t-shirt with no bra, or I could wear my scrubs.
Or
or I could get glammed up. I'm like, you know what? This is going to be on the internet forever. I'll get glammed up.
Literally will be, yeah. Actually feel quite underdressed in my own home, and I don't know how I feel about it. I should have just put a tie on or something.
Yeah, just put like a sport coat on.
It's just
It'll
something.
be fine.
All right, girl. That's arm wrestle.
I'm ready.
Yeah, take your last sip. The last sip you'll ever have.
It's going to give me strength.
It might.
Yeah.
All right.
So
what's the tattoo on your hand? I noticed.
Oh, it's just like a henna tattoo.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a henna tattoo.
But it's real?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's real.
Well, henna's not permanent, is it?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No. But it's like a
models,
design. You know what I mean? Like, it's
it.
supposed to be like a henna.
Got it.
All right. Oh, God.
All right.
All right.
Bet you didn't think you'd be doing this as a model.
I don't have a wardrobe malfunction over here. Okay. If I do,
I'll,
just close your eyes.
I'll blur it out and no one will ever see it. I'm a gentleman. All right, I'm going to ask you a question as we do this.
Okay, okay.
This is just for entertainment, Aliya.
Okay. Except now the microphone's not.
I'm still going to hear you.
Okay.
Start when you're ready.
Okay.
Go ahead. Easy, girl. Jeez, you're strong. All right, if you could say something to Hazel, what would you say to her right now?
I would say that we miss you, and we're thinking about you. We always are thinking about you.
She's very alive still in your life.
Yes, she's still alive in our hearts. And every year on her anniversary, we, like the anniversary for death, we light a candle. And we all, like, my daughter usually, like, writes a poem for her or something, So,
what does your son say about her?
He's not as attached, obviously, as she is. But I don't know. He doesn't really say much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, for good reason.
Yeah.
It wasn't his twin.
No.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's pictures of her in the house and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. The family picture.
Yeah. That's so cute.
Yeah.
Well, girl, do you have any questions for me before we close out today? It's time for you to put me in the hot seat.
I know. I did have a question, but now I can't remember it.
Darn. And cut. No, just kidding.
What was it? Damn, I can't remember. Oh, it was, how did you start getting into this? Like, how did you decide you wanted to do the podcast?
I wanted to be able to talk to people that others can relate to. I think social media influencers are so out of reach for so many people. Like there's that Ashton guy now with that morning routine where he dips his head in the water and does that. Have you seen that?
No.
How have you not seen that? Oh my God. Anyways, I ordered some of that water, Saratoga bottled water. It comes in a glass bottle. It's the bougiest water you can buy. I ordered some.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a little version of my own thing in a future episode. You don't know what I'm talking about because you've never seen it. But anyways, it's hard to relate to those people.
Yeah.
It almost discourages you to not want to try harder because it's like so out of reach to get to that success level. So I wanted to sit down and talk to real people with real stories and, you know, moms and divorcees.
I love that. Because that's honestly, that's like what I try to do too.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my biggest things about my account, my like social media presence is I want to be relatable and I want people to know that I'm a normal human. That's also why I prioritize responding to everybody that DMs me. Like not everybody, but most people that DM me, I try to respond to them. And then I've had people that are like, "Oh my God, you actually responded to me?" They're like so shocked that I responded to them. I'm like, "Yeah, it's just me.
Yeah.
Like I'm just a person
just a
too.
person.
You know, like I'm just a regular mom too. I'm not like anything special." And even with the modeling stuff, like I always tell people like anybody can model, honestly. Like if you look at ads, they want regular people. They want just like regular old people to model. So anybody could do it. You know, I'm nothing special.
There's that humble side coming out again, right? But yeah, I mean, again, that says a lot about you. And everyone has a story. Everyone has a voice. And I wanted to give them the opportunity to tell it too. Whether it's confessing about stuff that you've never told anybody, which has happened on this show before, or, you know, talking about Hazel and bringing her back to life for this 2 hours and, you know, your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses as you dealt with that loss and everything else that came with it. So, and you're going to inspire women, maybe even men who want to get into modeling that are like, hey, maybe I'm not good looking enough, or maybe like they're too self-conscious about their bodies. Yeah. They're going to watch us and maybe they'll just pull the trigger, right?
And like I said, it actually, I felt like when I first started modeling that like having a different look would be beneficial to me. But it turns out that that's not what people want. Like the agencies, like the people that get booked the most are like middle-aged white women. Like just because they want people to be relatable, you know, in their ads. They want the people to be like everyday people. So it actually I feel like has not been on my side. Me looking different is actually hindering me getting booked. So, but it's okay. That's why I do my own stuff too. And I always try to remember that like I'm doing this for fun. You know, I have my full-time job at the hospital, so I'm not doing it for money, and it's a fun thing for me to do. So whenever I start to get stressed about it, I just like take a step back and I say, listen, if I get discouraged if I don't get booked and whatever, you know, I'm like, listen, I'm doing this for fun. If I get booked, that's great. That's a bonus. But I'm just doing it for myself because it's something that I can do that has nothing to do with my kids. It has nothing to do with my husband. It's just for me, and it allows me to just be my own person for a while.
Yeah. As long as you can hang on to that, you can't lose, right?
Yeah.
And I've made $130 doing this for what has been 15 months, an episode every week, and I've made $130.
Wait, you've only been doing this for
15 months.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
I started January last year.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
So you're the 60th person, one episode every week.
Wow, that's wild.
So people see those YouTubers out there and It's not easy.
No,
And
I
if I
can't.
was in it for the money, I would not be talking to you right now.
And people think that I make like money on Instagram. Like I make sense.
Yeah.
Sense, literally.
Yeah.
So
You have quite a following. It's like 60 some
Yeah.
thousand. I was like, oh damn, okay.
I'm getting there. I'm working hard at it.
What's your like the last question I'm gonna have for you, what's your long-term modeling goal? Like what's that peak of the mountain for you?
So I really want to get into doing like beauty campaigns. Like I've been told I have nice skin, so I don't know. I really want to do like I feel like I could see myself in like a Maybelline ad, you know, or like any type of cosmetics. I actually submitted for a Dove face cream a few months ago. I didn't get it, but you know, we'll still keep going, still do
give
it.
up.
But yeah, I want to be like when you go shopping for like makeup in Sephora, I want to be like that person with like, you know, the eyeliner on or the blush.
How good would that feel to see you?
That would be amazing. It's like my ultimate goal. Like if I can just get booked for like one big thing like that, I think that I would feel fulfilled. I mean, I already do feel fulfilled. I like booked Purell. You know what I mean? Like I already do feel fulfilled in what I'm doing, but that is like my ultimate goal.
Well, if you know anybody that can get her on
Yeah.
that Sephora ad,
Yes.
let her know. Her Instagram is going to be tagged. Aliya, it's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing story. And I never would have known. If I wouldn't have sat down and talked to you, I never
Yeah.
would have known that you ran as deep as you did.
Yeah.
You were just the
You would have
girl on
thought that
Instagram.
I was just a bitch. Just a bitch.
Just yes.
You know, just
After
another
all, she's
just another person on Instagram.
Are you standing up right now? Or are you sitting?
I'm like half.
You're what's standing? You're shitting. And on that note, watch one of these episodes. Subscribe. It's completely free. It helps me. It helps Aliya and all of my future guests. And I will see you on the next episode of Barbells and Bourbon. Peace. You're shitting.